Welcome in, Vikings fans. It is one day after the Dakota Dozier signing. Yes, if you happen to be away from social media yesterday, welcome to the new reality. That is, we can't seem to quit players on offense that we really should have quit. And Dakota Dozier is the latest addition to that list. So Dakota Dozier is back. It looks like it's going to be a one-year veteran minimum. And before we talk about today's topic, I just want to insert this part of reality because I am now more upset about this signing than I was yesterday. It is because we have learned the financial details of the Austin Blythe contract that he signed with the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday. And guess what? It's the veteran minimum. And that tells me that the Vikings were not willing to shell out just a little bit more money for somebody who is potentially a better player than the guy that we had who was one of the worst graded interior offensive linemen by PFF last year. Now, I don't want to get entirely caught up in PFF grades because they're their own thing, and I understand coaches and general managers and executives might see something in a guy that doesn't necessarily reflect on a statistical analysis spreadsheet. That's okay. But he started and played all 16 games last year. What more do you need to see? I don't need to see the analytical data about Dakota Dozier. He was a turnstile at the left guard position. He is poor in pass protection. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. I don't want to make this a whole video rant about Dakota Dozier because we already did that yesterday. So let's talk about the Mike Zimmer press conference, his media availability that he had today, which is kind of rare. I think this is the first time that we've gotten to hear from Mike Zimmer in a long time. I think he usually makes himself available to the media during the NFL Combine. Obviously, that didn't happen this year. We're just going through the pro days. So this is good that we actually get to hear from him. We'll go over some of the things that, some of the questions that he answered, the answers he gave, and sort of interpret the tea leaves as we go along through here. And it kind of ties into the Dakota Dozier thing because we're going to be talking about the offensive line. Go figure. So first question that I thought was really good, and I want to, you know, as somebody who is a former journalist or not a current working journalist, I have a BA in journalism from Youngstown State, and I name drop. I just want to say thank you to the local reporters in the room that cover the Vikings and ask these questions because these are the answers that fans want to know. So first, the first question that I picked out here from the press conference, I'm not going to go over all of them, but the first one that caught my eye was he was asked how they're going to replace Riley Reiff. And his answer wasn't really an answer. It was just to name drop all of the available options that are currently on the roster. He mentioned Rashad Hill. He mentioned Brian O'Neill. He mentioned Ezra Cleveland. He mentioned Oli Udoh. He says that those are all, you know, good players. They'll be able to take care of it, and they have plenty of time to figure it out. I don't want to read too much into that because if you follow me on Twitter at Skull Ohio, you will know that I've already basically said I understand coaches are going to talk up every single player that they have, from their star quarterback to the guy that is barely making the 53-man roster after cuts. They're going to say nothing but positive things about them, especially during the offseason when they want spirit and motivation to be high. Now, maybe there's a game situation where they completely fuck up and do something terrible, like a Chris Boyd getting a penalty on when he's wide open on a special teams fake. That might happen. They might end up in the doghouse for a media session or two. But during the offseason, they're not really going to rip on anybody and say, oh, guys, you know, we have no, these guys suck. We have no option at left tackle at all. That's never going to be a thing. You need to interpret this as coach speak. There's been plenty of times where I've been in the interview room for interviewing or press conferences, doing post-game press conferences for Division I football games at the FCS level, and coaches aren't going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to give you just enough to get you a pull quote and to shut up, but they're not going to give you a straight answer. And this is just him sort of, painting a picture of possibilities rather than just saying, hey, this is the route that we think, because that's just the way that the game works. Coaches will lie to you. General managers will lie to you because the perceived competence is much more important than the truth. Then the follow-up question to that is he was asked about Ezra Cleveland. What is his position going to be? Mike Zimmer replied, well, right now he is a right guard, but that could potentially change. And I don't think we're going to get this sort of relates to the first question. I don't think we're going to get any definitive answer about who's going to play where, unless your name is Patrick Peterson and Dalvin Tomlinson, because we've gotten definitive answers on where those guys are going to play position, because the offensive line situation right now is fluid. I guarantee you, even after the Dakota Dozier signing, that the starting left tackle and the starting left guard are not on this team yet. I think that those are going to come in the draft. I think Elijah Vera Tucker is a primary target. Christian Darrisaw. If they get another guard like Forrest Lamp, I think Forrest Lamp is better than Dakota Dozier and Drew Samia, so I think Forrest Lamp would probably take over. It seems like they're lowballing free agents with offers. If Austin Blythe is willing to sign with the Kansas City Chiefs, I know people are going to be like, well, it's the Chiefs or the Vikings. Who would you pick? Of course, I would pick the team that's going to pay me more money. And it seems like they weren't willing to pay more money. So if you're going to get an equal payment from both teams, of course you're going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, you get to play with Patrick Mahomes. Who wouldn't want to do that for the same amount of money that you get to come here and potentially not even start? So that's my whole takeaway on that. Mike Zimmer was also asked about the backup quarterback situation, and this was pretty interesting because his answer to that is just the same as the answer he gave to the offensive line, but with different names. He threw out praise for Browning and Stanley and Sean Mannion, saying Sean Mannion's great in the study room. Nate Stanley is a big, strong, armed kid, and saying that Jake Browning has been great for them for the 2 years that he's been there. No real X's and O's analysts to back up any of that. Just, I like these guys. They're kind of my friends. They work at the same place that I work at, so we get along pretty well. That's basically the answer that he gave, which is kind of silly when you think about it, because these are real important football questions. Who's going to be quarterback too? It's interesting that Sean Mannion hasn't been signed yet. It really is. I will give everybody that. If you honest to God consider Jake Browning or Nate Stanley to be options as the backup quarterback, and Kirk Cousins, who thankfully the one thing that I really do like about him is his durability, and he hasn't missed games. Knock on wood. That's not wood. This is wood here. Thank God that he hasn't missed games, because if he misses games, and we've been over this, Jake Brown, Nate Stanley, not going to cut it, especially in a 17-game season. We will be immensely screwed. So that was his non-answer for that question. And then finally, the one that I thought was the most intriguing, that kind of made me go, excuse me, your plan is to what? Because you did what based on what? Mike Zimmer was asked about the NFL draft, and he sort of hinted at a best player available strategy for the first round. Says that what they've done in free agency thus far now allows them to attack the draft with a best player available strategy, and they're not pigeonholed into one spot like the offensive line. And I know I've already said in this video that coaches will lie to you. And of course, that is a commitment to the smokescreen. That is what that is. He is not wanting to tip his hat, let people know let other teams know what their plans are, because there's other teams behind you in the first round that could definitely leapfrog you and take the player that you want. If you telegraph that you're like, well, our offensive line sucks and we don't have anybody that can really replace Riley Reiff, so obviously we need to do this in the first round. No, it's the same thing as the Jets trying to talk up Sam Darnold. They're trying to keep that trade price high, not that they're going to actually keep him and start him next year. Zach Wilson is going to be the number 2 overall pick in the draft. You could take that to the bank. This is just Mike Zimmer trying to, like I said, commit to the smokescreen. There's other teams that could jump them, and he's trying to prevent that. If you tip your hat, other teams are going to figure it out, and they're going to take advantage of you because you have given them, information that you shouldn't have shared. So that is my response to that. My response in reality is, I don't want to hear you talk like that, because you clearly still have flaws on the offensive line, and it just, don't insult my intelligence is basically what I'm trying to say. I know you're the head coach who gets paid millions of dollars to coach football, and I know Rick Spielman and other executives get paid millions of dollars to find players and scout players and analyze players and figure out who's going to be the best fit for their team. But don't insult my intelligence as a fan, because if you honestly believe that all the answers to your problems are currently on the team and you can just draft whatever position you want because you feel that you have all of the solutions currently on the team, you're full of shit. And you're going to pay for saying stuff like that. Revisit last year when he said, oh, I've never coached a bad defense. How about now? And you can tell he's clearly upset about that, because he's more excited and rejuvenated about the current defensive status of the Vikings now than he was at the end of last season. So that is the Mike Zimmer press conference in a nutshell. Those are my reactions. What are your reactions to his answers to these questions? Does any of this satisfy you? Are you okay with the fact that he's just basically giving us bullshit answers, which I think all coaches do? You can't really fault him for that, if we're being honest. But let me know what you think, and we'll do another video tomorrow, as is always. So thank you very much for sticking around, watching the video. I will see you in the next one.